Well, now that I've got a deadline to work to, I've got a bit impatient waiting for a hand with the wiring, and I'm doing it myself. So I've got a bunch of Honda ECU plugs and this wiring loom from my car. Now I just need to make this talk to this so that the engine can start. Well, not this one specifically because it's been cut about a bit, and it's actually for a VVC engine, which means none of the wires are the same as the diagrams I've got. So first job is we're going to have to send someone out into the wilds to find a nice, natural, unmodified rover wiring loom. And then after that, we can set about splicing these together.
Now we're out here in the wilds to hunt down the rare engine loom snake. There's a few different variants of this species. The one we're looking for is an MGS Ephus engine loomis. Now, with the rapid destruction of the habitat of these creatures, there really are very few MGFs left about for them to live in. They've been forced out into places like this. Now it's worth remembering they like to make their nests up in trees and other hard to reach places. If you come across one in an engine bay, make sure you don't grab it at the wrong spot, otherwise you might get a bite, which will give you a nasty shock. Now, hang on, I've spotted one. Right, we're going to take this nice and slow. I think he's asleep, and I don't think he's a danger. Now, outside of the engine bay, these creatures are a lot less dangerous, but you've still got to treat them with a healthy measure of respect. You just got to come in slow behind the head, just slowly, and then fast. Right, we've got him. He's calm, he's staying calm, he's not biting, all right, we've got him. Now that is one healthy looking engine loom snake to me. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get this guy back in and rehome him in another engine bay. Get him out of this wild place where he doesn't belong.
So this is a standard MGF loom and should be more or less the same as what was in my car when it left the factory, meaning it's more or less the perfect point to start a conversion loom from. And the way I'm going to do that is, instead of cutting and soldering and stuff like that, I've got the individual plugs that go into the Honda ECU and also the main connector that would go to the Civic body. And I'm going to take this little bag of pins and several others like it, this ratcheting crimping tool, and just crimp these onto the ends of the wires, pop them into the plugs, plug it all into the ECU, and then it should all just run like magic. Can this go wrong? Hopefully not. People tell me it's a simple afternoon job, but, well, I'm me, so we'll see how that goes. So here's the first draft of our conversion loom. So you can see this is still a bit of a mess. That's because when I was cutting out unnecessary wires, I've left them long enough that I can solder them back in if it turns out I've accidentally hacked off something important. The next step now is to plug all this in, see if the car will start, and if everything works properly, I'll take it back out, neaten it up, and give it a little wrap of loom tape. So obviously the car didn't start. The fuel pumps didn't even prime, and the engine didn't turn over at all. And I don't know why. Because everything seems like I followed the instructions properly, although there's a lot of janky rewiring in here from back when the previous owner put the 160 engine in. And I've sort of been sorting a lot of the body loom side of that and just turning everything back to standard. So that might be something to do with it. More likely it's something I've done. So I'm just going to check absolutely every one of this rat's nest of wires and then get back to you. Well, I found the problem, and the problem is I'm an idiot, and apparently I can't read. See, this is a C101 connector. It's what connects quite a lot of the connections there to the body loom on the Honda, and I somehow got the pins backwards, so everything was in the wrong place and nothing was matching up. And I have unpinned most of this, however 3 of them I just couldn't get out, so I'm going to need a new plug housing, which means I'm going to have to wait for another one of those. But in the meantime, I'm actually thinking if I put back on the pins I lost inside of here, I can maybe just plug them individually into the female end of this connector, just so we can see if everything works. If that pans out, I'll be back in like 2 seconds with this hopefully making noises. If it doesn't pan out, then I'll still be back in 2 seconds. It's just I'll have had to wait 2 days or 3 days for another one of these connectors, and well, it makes no difference to you. So okay. Well, the car now cranks, which means the fact it wasn't cranking was obviously completely my fault wiring that C101 up. However, the fuel pumps, I don't think I can take the blame for that, so I'm only half an idiot. Although, I'd rather be an idiot with a working fuel pump than half an idiot with more wiring to do. But hey, I think the thing with the fuel pumps, it will come down to the fact that the last owner, a lot of their janky wiring is down in that fuel pump circuit, to the point where the fuses and all that that's meant to protect the thing, they're not even involved anymore. So I may actually try and put those back in because, well, safety first and all that. So I'm going to have to dig back into that, try and work out what's going on with those relays. This isn't really something I understand very much of, I'm just muddling through it. I'll reappear, hopefully, in the next cut with some good news, maybe a running car, but we'll see. Let's get to it. So this is the little relay for my external fuel pump, and I'm testing something out here, because the more I faff about with this big multifunction relay unit trying to get it to actually switch power onto my main pump, the more I'm kind of seeing that I don't really know what I'm doing here and I'm struggling to get it to go, and there's a 4-page thread on seloc now trying to guide me through this, and I'm not getting anywhere. So instead of taking this yellow signal wire to here to tell it to engage, what I'm having a go at doing is I'm taking this. This wire basically just switches on when my electrics come on in the key and activates this relay here, and I'll see if that sets my pump up, because I might actually just run all of my pumps off this. I mean, so long as that won't cause problems. Probably going to ask people that actually understand a bit more than I do if that's an okay thing to do, but I don't see why it wouldn't be. So let's give it a go. So as we can see, my external pump over there fired up fine there. So for a wee brief period, I knew what it was like to have fuel. Now let's see if I can sort something out to get that pump in there to run off the same circuit as that. So you know how I was moaning earlier about the previous owner's wiring and how loads of stuff had been messed about with the fuel pump wiring? Well, this plug that the fuel pump wiring used to go through had actually been bypassed, and I fixed all that, put it all back to where it should be. Everything looked fine. And I had everything set up to run off of that new relay. Still nothing happening, and that's because the old fuel pump power wire is this, which I found further up the loom, completely cut off. I don't know why. I think I'm developing a deep-seated hatred for this person. Gonna have to dig through the massive bundle of black wires and find out what this used to connect to. And then maybe, just maybe, we can get an actual working main fuel pump. So here are all the black wires I could find that had been cut off or weren't connected to anything. Now these 3 clearly haven't had anything on them, so I doubt they were anything to do with the bypass, because the fuel pump did run, so something had to go to this. This, however, has a bullet connector on it, so we're going to start there, very scientifically. Thank you, sweet Jesus. Right, let's get these 2 connected up, and then I'll have an actual fuel system, and we can postpone, you know, driving down to the previous owner's house and burning it down. Okay, so I've moved the camera. The view isn't as good, but the microphone's a lot closer to where my standard pump is, which is what we're going to be listening out for, because I've got everything wired up. We're ignoring that big lump in the back, which is going to make a bit of noise, and we're just listening for that little thing in there to make sure both pumps are running. Let's go. Way, there we go. Right, so both our pumps are running, the engine cranks over, and all I need is a spark. Now that's the sound of a working fuel system. So that's 2 pumps, 1 starter, and sadly no spark. And that's because the K100 board of my Hondata still has the immobilizer enabled. And from any tuner I've spoken to, the full thing needs to be taken out and completely redone, and it almost costs the same amount as just getting a second-hand K-Pro. So what I'm going to do is order a multiplexer, which is a thing that folk use to get by the immobilizers on a standard Civic ECU, which I've been told should work the same because that just uses the standard Civic immobilizer. That should get around that, get us a spark, and get this thing running. So as you can see, it's alive. Only problem is, it doesn't want to die. Now I pulled the key out, nothing happened, kept on trucking, and that's just, well, the opposite of good. So I've got 2 sets of wiring diagrams here, and I think I've found the problem. One set is from the start kit, and mine are a few years old. They were actually given to me by someone, and they are a bit out of date, and I've spotted a few other mistakes in them. The other set is from a company called Doctronic, and they're available for free online. Now there are 3 wires in here that I wired up in accordance to the start tables before swapping to the Doctronic ones, and I've went back and changed them. In this case, it's this one, and another one. So now what we're going to do, I've just twisted this one together for now because I'm actually not so sure if this will help it, because I've been going back and a lot of these power wires were messed about with the previous owner, and I've been checking all of them, but this time I think I've got it. So we're going to start it up, see if it turns off, and if so, I'll make this a permanent connection and tidy all the loom up, and that'll be us. Problem solved. Right, now I need to turn that rat's nest into something that actually looks like a wiring loom. So as you can see, I've got my loom all tidied up. I've also attached most of my relays onto this aluminium backboard. So I've got my fuel pump relay here, my main fuse holder down here, my multifunction relay unit down in behind here. And as for the wiring, well, we've gone from that sad spaghetti mess of confusion to this happy octopus of, yeah, that's what we're going with. Happy octopus of power. Taking electricity all over my engine. It starts it, it runs it, and very importantly, it turns it off with the key. Because you don't want to have an engine that won't turn off with the key, otherwise you'll end up sprinting to pull off the negative terminal of your battery, not that I would know. So anyways, that's pretty much the wiring done here. In fact, that is the wiring done. This is the wiring. Car is wired. Happy days. So as it turns out, when I said I can't do wiring, that was a lie. I can do wiring. I'm just not very good at it. Although to be fair, not all of the problems were my fault. I mean, yeah. Completely wiring up one of the main connectors totally wrong. Absolutely my fault. However, the thing with the fuel pumps, where I ended up trying to rewire them all onto a separate relay, turns out all that was unnecessary. If I just found that one wire the previous owner had cut and put that back together, would have solved the whole issue, but hey, what can you do? So we've got the immobilizer bypassed, we've got the car starting and running. Only thing is, I had an alternator charging light. However, once I got the thing with the key not turning the engine off sorted, the alternator charge light seems to have gone away. And not in a good way. It's just, it doesn't work anymore. I don't know why. I've taken the 2 wires that should be it and I've even put them onto a spade connector just to make sure they're connected, but my charge light has not come back. So I'll look into that, but for the purposes of this video, well, we're pretty much good to go.